Hey everybody, Kennis here. Hope you're doing great. Today I'm making a video about how to soundproof a room. I'm standing in my attic studio that I'm building here, and it's more than halfway done, but about half the drywall is up. And I wanted to share with you how I am soundproofing this. My goal with this room is to be able to jam out here at nighttime and not disturb the rest of the house. So this is essentially, I'm building it in the attic, but it's basically like a second story room. So if you were doing this to a second story room, this is the things that you would do in order to soundproof your room. I'm going to show you about how to do the floors, the insulation, this stuff called resilient track, the drywall, that kind of thing. So stay tuned. This is how you soundproof your room. All right, so before I dive into exactly all the details of what to do, I want to go talk about the why to do it. So soundproofing there's a lot of misinformation out there on the interwebs about soundproofing. Trust me, I've read a ton of it. I've watched a ton of videos. And here's what it really comes down to. There's two things you need to consider when you're soundproofing. And essentially it comes down to high frequencies and low frequencies. And so this is what happens. So let me just say what soundproofing is not first. Soundproofing is not just putting up a bunch of foam on the walls, mattresses. I've seen videos of people saying to take old mattresses, put it up on the walls. Let me just tell you, that's gonna do nothing to help soundproof your room. You need to prevent sound waves from getting into the other parts of your house. That's how you soundproof. So let's talk about high frequencies. High frequencies, they're a smaller wavelength. Okay, so your bass frequencies are real low, like the E string on a bass guitar. Literally that frequency is a 30-foot wavelength. Well, your high frequencies, they're going to go real fast, which basically means they're able to ricochet off stuff and get through cracks easier than other things. So the things you really have to consider are, for example, when you're putting up your sheetrock, being able, even just this crack right here, a high frequency wave can get through that crack and then go out through other places. Another thing is the outlets. So I don't have an outlet in here, but even just going through the back of the outlet, it can get to other places. So in order to stop the high frequencies, doing some acoustical insulation is very good, because what happens is if this crack right here, if the sound wave is getting through here, it's hitting this foam. This is insulation, but it's hitting this, and this is Lowe's brand of rock wool. I can't remember what it is. It may not be Lowe's brand, but I got it at Lowe's. And then over on this side is rock wool that I got at Home Depot. They didn't have enough of this, so I got the Lowe's stuff. But anyway, basically a frequency is able to then hit this and then dissipate. So this is able to absorb those high frequencies before they get transferred over to the next room or down below, whatever the case is. The same thing with the floors. I soundproofed these floors here, and obviously I can't rip up the floor to show you the soundproofing, but essentially I did that as well, to where even in the gaps on the floor, high frequencies aren't going to be able to get through there. Okay, now you can go the extra mile with that. There's some companies like Green Glue makes a product that you can actually just squirt in here. It's like a caulk, and it's a sealant, and it basically prevents high frequencies from even getting in that crack. I'm hoping that I don't have to go to that level when I get done with this project, but if I do, then I'm going to go back in and put those in as well. So that's the high frequencies. So what I'm doing with the outlets, instead of, let me run over here real quick, instead of doing boxes like this, which is what I was originally going to do, what I'm going to do is, you can see down here, my wires for my outlets are just right here coming out of the wall, and I'm going to put a metal box on the outside of the wall. That way that there's not a big hole in the wall for high frequencies to get in. So I'm just making a metal box on the outside of it. And actually the cost is about the same, so that was kind of cool. Okay, so that's the high frequencies you're gonna have to deal with. The doors, Doors are a big deal. You got to make sure you've got stuff it's closed, that there's not a big gap at the bottom of the door. Around the edges, you may have to put foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of that like weather sealant foam, put it around this whole thing, so when the door is shut, it's sealed from the high frequencies. Okay, the next thing is low frequencies. So they're actually going to affect other parts of your room differently, high frequencies versus low frequencies. So low frequencies, they're not going to be able to wiggle their way into all the cracks in your room, okay? But what they're going to do is they're going to transfer through to your studs, okay? So typically what's going to happen, you know, like say you're playing a bass guitar, those frequencies are going to hit this drywall and it's going to vibrate, okay? And then because the drywall is screwed into the stud, it's going to vibrate that stud, and it's going to travel and go down and to the side all throughout the rest of your house, and you're basically not going to be able to control the low frequency. You've got to prevent the hitting of those waves hitting the wall and then just transferring its energy into the studs and going to the rest of the house. So really, probably a little bit, but not like an extreme amount is this even doing much with the low frequencies. It's absorbing some, but really what you have to do is isolate your drywall, your floor, and all that from your studs and your joists. So what I've done is I've used this product here. This is called Resilient Track, okay? And again, there's a lot of misinformation about this stuff online. If you go to certain websites and they'll talk about their product and they'll say that like this product is no good because it hasn't been approved by, or there's been no studies for some government agency has not done any studies on this, therefore you can't trust it. Like, it's not that hard. We're not talking about like rocket surgery here. You know, it's just like basic science. We're just preventing sound waves from transferring. So let me show you what this looks like when it's not on the wall. This is the Resilient Track right here. It comes in these 12-foot long pieces like this. I got this at Lowe's. I happen to live by one of the Lowe's, whatever. I happen to live by a Lowe's that carries this. But if you don't, you can order it. And what you do is you put this every 16 inches across your studs like this. So these are going, it's basically you're creating like another wall, that's floating on top of your studs. So now what happens, sound waves hit this, and then instead of it just being transferred directly onto the stud, it's hitting this track, and then this track is trying to vibrate, but it's separated itself, and it's got this like Z formation here before it gets to where it's attached. So there might be some waveforms that kind of transfer, the vibrations transfer through this, but it's significantly better. It's significantly better because it's detaching this from the studs itself. So it's really important when you're installing this that you don't accidentally go ahead and screw into the stud itself. So when I first started doing it on these walls behind me here, I was having a difficult time finding where the studs were at. But on like this wall here, I went ahead and I just snapped lines. So I snapped a line across where the stud was, where the Resilient Track was at, and then I snapped a line here where the stud was at, so that I could make sure that I'm not accidentally putting it in the stud. Also, you got to make sure that, like if you're on the top of the wall here, when I put a track, you wouldn't want to put a track across the top of this, because then you would be impossible to drill into it without getting into the stud itself. Same thing with the bottom. On the bottom plate, I haven't put this one on yet, but I'm going to put it up a couple inches so that it's not going to drill into the stud on the bottom plate there. So the next thing that you can do with the soundproofing for the low frequencies is with the floors. Like if you look down here, there's this green tape right here. This is a product made by Green Glue. That green tape, basically it's just like a foam, I think it's called a closed cell foam, and it essentially does a similar thing to what this is doing. However, it's probably not as good. But basically it's attempting to float the floor and prevent a sound wave from transferring into the studs. Now, I'm hoping that that's going to be sufficient for what I'm doing. I may have to go back in and do another layer of plywood, or this compressed wood here that I've got. What is this called? My brain is not thinking. But I may have to come across here and do another layer. And what I would do if I was doing that is I would just, like, let's see, right here there's like a sheet that goes right here. It's making a square right here. I would overlap, I don't know if you can see this crack, I would overlap this crack with another sheet. Doing two things: it's going to make sure that no sound frequencies are getting in through those cracks. But then also what I would do is use a product by Green Glue. It's called Green Glue. And basically what it does is you spray it on a sheet of, you can put it on your walls for drywall. I may have to use it for the drywall too. But you spray it on a sheet, you squirt it with like a caulking gun on a sheet of plywood, and then you put it on the ground, and it basically creates a big buffer, like an air gap between the two sheets of material, and that way any frequencies aren't transferring again. So I'm hoping that all of this is enough where I'm not going to have to do that, but I may still have to come over here, put another sheet of drywall on this in order to, and then put that green glue on the side, on the back, in between it, and that will help prevent the transfer happening as well. I'm really hoping, because I've spent too much money in this project, I don't want to spend any more, but if I have to, I've already dug the hole, so I got to keep on pushing through it. One of the things with that too is I went ahead and got the fire rated drywall. This is the 5/8 inch. Man, it's stinking heavy. It's really heavy. It's very hard to deal with by yourself. So if you have a partner, it's awesome. But the cheap stuff, it's like the 1/2 inch, and it's like there's like foam in it or something. It literally, 2 sheets of 1/2 inch weigh, to me, less than 1 sheet of the 3/8 inch. But this 3/8 inch stuff is like way more dense than the 1/2 inch stuff. I know, not 3/8. This 5/8 inch drywall is way more dense than the 1/2 inch. There's just more mass in here, and mass is key when you're trying to soundproof. So I thought I'd make this video because I'm at a position in this place here where I'm able to show the different steps. Like I can see a couple different steps happening here. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you're trying to soundproof something, or if you're thinking if it's even worth it to do a soundproofing project, this has been a lot more work than I anticipated. It's a lot more. You know, just throwing up drywall on drywall, like on studs, is pretty easy. Doing it on here, putting the track, marking them, screwing them in, it takes like 30 minutes. Even if it's just a 4x8 sheet of drywall, it'll take me 30 minutes or more to put it up. It's just been time consuming. But anyway, I wanted to make this video to kind of, I don't know, not debunk, but just kind of give clarity to this whole soundproofing thing. I'll probably make a more in-depth video in the future, but I've just done a lot of research on this, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So and there's a lot of products. There's a lot of different products you could use in order to soundproof. So anyway, Kennis Russell out. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll get this project done. Please be praying for me, because I need to get this project done like this month, so I can get up here and be playing. And this room back here is not a studio. That room back there is storage, and I've got so much stuff in my house that I need to put into storage and just kind of get it out of the way. Anyway, Kennis Russell out. Not going to ramble on anymore. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, if you watched this far, this probably was useful to you. If you would, hit a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'll see you in another video.